Ferrari at breakfast on LBC. Call 0345 6060 973.
9 minutes before 8 is the time. Back to your views of that parliamentary debate in a moment. Prosaic at times is what you're saying. Others perhaps not so much. But let's go to Defence Secretary Ben Wallace, who joins us now for the latest on the ground. I touched on that debate, and obviously I watched you attend that, Secretary of State. What did you learn?
Well, I learned, I think, one thing what we all knew, that people are angry, sad, worried about the future, because I think that is something we should all worry about, is if the West is seen not to have resolve and it fractures, then our adversaries like Russia find that encouraging, as do our terrorists, friends, not friends, enemies around the world. And I think that is what people, I think, were venting. I think people were deeply frustrated about what they saw on the ground. I think, I heard, for example, the Labour Party, but I also heard lots of criticism, a lot of valid criticism, but very short on solutions. And that's been the problem. That's what we all feel a frustration about. I have said, I think I said on your show about the Doha Agreement 18 months ago that paved the way. All those people I saw shouting at me yesterday and my colleagues didn't say a word 18 months ago when that deal was done. In fact, they welcomed it. So hindsight is a very good thing, especially for the leader of the opposition. But look, I understand it. We all understand it. And it's why right now we are focused through the night on getting as many of those people out. And I think that's the demand. We can't fix the strategic problem, Nick, but we can make ourselves feel that we've done the best we can by getting all those people out.
A lot of my listeners would say the criticism levelled at you and at the Prime Minister was unfair because we couldn't have gone it alone, for want of a better expression. But the point that we could have started processing some of the Afghan nationals, some of the UK citizens, some weeks prior, that seems a valid criticism. Secretary of State.
Well, so remember, before April, we'd already taken out about 1,800 people. We'd already started it. The operation you're now seeing on the ground, Operation Pitting, it has taken out nearly another 2,000, and that's been going. That was on the shelf, ready to go. So we were prepared. The question was when, and we have a range of options. We have even some more dramatic options if we really had to, sitting on a shelf, ready to go. Yes, of course. Could we have brought forward things even quicker? If you remember, last Friday. We were using civilian aircraft, the airport was open, and we had a plan to get all those people out by the end of August. And obviously the events on the ground, the collapse of the Afghan government, led to a very, very rapidly deteriorating situation. And that's why, the good news is, Nick, today, I've read reports of the Times, that's not correct. The Taliban are letting our people through. They are getting to the processing centre. Our challenge, and our biggest challenge, is they're letting everybody else through. So you see huge public order challenges for our soldiers. You'd have seen the distressing scenes on the telly with babies being handed over and things like that. That's a real problem. Our soldiers are trained to do public order. It's not a security problem, but it's very distressing. And I've just authorised the deployment of another company of paras to go today into the country to help relieve them and also augment that public order.
It's interesting to quote some of that language, Secretary of State, because I was privileged to speak with General Sadiq Carter yesterday, and he was at pains to say that we shouldn't just paint the Taliban as the enemy. He said that they are facilitating arrival at Kabul airport, and I note that you use the words both friends and enemies concerning. So in your view, Secretary of State, is the Taliban the enemy?
Look, I'm not going to say language that could inflame the people we need at the moment to help get the people out. There's absolutely no point provoking the people who are currently running the country. And I think the best thing we should say about the Taliban is two things. First of all, last time they lost power when they hosted Al-Qaeda, the international community moved in. It didn't last long, and they've been out of power for 20 years. And I'm sure they've learned that lesson. But secondly, we will judge them on their actions, not their words. And in the immediate, we'll try and get our people out.
Can they be our friends?
Look, international diplomacy is not really always, apart from very few countries, about friendships. It's about either it's a transactional relationship or indeed it is a relationship of long-term development and long-term partnerships on things you both agree on. So there are a lot of countries around the world, we have embassies where we entirely disagree on their ideology or indeed their foreign policy goals, and our role there is to obviously try and challenge that or influence it. So look, I don't think the flag, what flag they fly matters to us. What matters to us is, can we further our values, and in the meantime, can I help get people out?
To events overnight, which hopefully you are aware, President Biden has given an interview to a TV station and he's indicated that US military personnel will stay in place until the evacuation is complete. Two questions of that. Would the same be with UK military personnel? And when you expressed your concerns earlier this week that not everyone will get out, does that give you fresh comfort, Secretary of State?
It gives me comfort, but I also know that it's incredibly unpredictable. I'm trying to speak to the US Defence Secretary today or tomorrow. I think we are planning for the worst, but hoping for the best, and that never has that been truer in this situation. If we can get to the August the 31st and we can get our people through, then I'm confident we will have got the bulk of our people out. Not every single one. There will be some people up country and in different parts of Afghanistan that are not going to be able to get to Kabul. That's just the reality of it. And some people said, well, maybe I shouldn't have said that, but I'd rather say that. But we are investing already. I've already authorised deploying people around the region to augment third countries so we can help them be processed when they get there in the long term. But look, for what it's worth, if the Taliban, who are running the country at the moment, say to the United States, just carry on or wait there, then that's going to be welcome. But let's plan for the worst and hope for the best. And look, it may be that the Taliban are true to the word, and anyhow the airport goes back to normal and civilian flights come in and out, and we will continue to charter flights, and then we'll get our people through. I do think that in the medium term, it will return to some form of normality, no matter who is running the country. The Taliban know that trade matters, crossing borders matter. Afghanistan is a landlocked country, and it needs a flow of people. And so, in a sense, I think that means that we should, in hope that in the long term we will be able to get these people through, which is why our scheme's not closing. Some other countries put a time limit on our scheme. Our scheme is open-ended.
And a last question. How do you respond to a story that's emerged overnight that your senior Conservative colleague Dominic Raab failed to make a crucial phone call while he was on his holiday to help airlift of translators from Afghanistan? Secretary of State.
Well, look, Nick, I don't know about his phone call sheet. We all have long ones, but what I will tell you is last Friday, phone calls to a rapidly disappearing Afghan government would have not made the blindest bit of difference. If you remember, last Friday, we were absolutely desperate about keeping their airport open. Could we fly any more planes out? Could we get the people on the ground out? And that's why all the way through the weekend, I worked alongside my officials and the Prime Minister on calls, etc., and generals and admirals and everyone else to keep that airport open. That was the number one issue. As we saw, we managed to fix that, but there were some real touch and go times. No phone call to an Afghan government that predominantly melted away was going to make a difference.
I'm grateful for your time as ever. Thank you, Defence Secretary Ben Wallace, appearing here on LBC, where at 8 o'clock the news is next.
On your radio, on Global Player, and
Play LBC.
leading Britain's conversation. This is LBC.
From Global's newsroom at 8 o'clock, Joe Biden